last day. Look, take a look up at the world, tell me what you see. A whole lot of people that trusting their enemies. Zombies look at them sleep, they obeying the beast. You can't come up in this store without a mask, you gotta leave. Soon they gon' say the same about that vaccine. Soon they gon' say the same about the mark of the beast. The way my people up like they like the bad ring. They say black's number one, the corona that they scheme. I'ma save the soul, I want a crown upon my head. If you believe in Christ, then you'll do just what he said. Teach them about repentance, be the light they need to see. We in the last days, make sure your soul is prepared. Take a look up at this madness, they going cashless. I'll be speeding up the time, man, it's coming fast. They can't get solutions from the world, they ain't got the answer. Get solutions from the world, they ain't got the answer. All I want, all I want.
Serious help up in here.
First in my heart, the light and the shadow from true. All I want is you.
So now what's going on over here? One of the main breakers up?
We really in it for Southway. He coming back, gotta be paid. He been commandments by the way.
Like,
I'm out, y'all gon' come and say it. Know yourself and know your name. We'll reward you for the labor. We were chosen, we was favored. I'll be watching your baby.
That's crazy right now. That's a crazy question right now. He said, what you think the most fucked up thing going on right now? I ain't gonna lie, it's like killing.
Yeah, murder.
It's a lot of murder. They get headshot. That's part of the crazy thing. I get tell walk down, told keep the head. The most fucked up thing going on is snitching. These niggas be snitching. Oh yeah, definitely right. A whole bunch of rats. Oh yeah, definitely. Niggas be telling what? Oh yeah.
A lot of folk don't like to fuck with us because they think we always on the bullshit. See, our hood was one of the number one hood that went against every hood in this city. They'll tell you that. We be to ourselves.
So do y'all like people over here? Do y'all fight amongst yourselves over here, or is like the other neighborhoods and the other areas?
Nah, we fight amongst ourselves. They the street. You gonna be 100. Your hood ain't shit if y'all ain't fighting the hood. Growing up, that's what you do.
Well, if it's a crime, y'all need to come solve that shit and stop being lazy when it's really a crime. Cause when it's really a crime, y'all don't really want to fucking investigate and really look into shit. That's why innocent people get locked up for shit they ain't do, like me. Now they just planted some shit on me on some dirty police shit, but that shit ain't cool, man. Y'all should come and help the community, make it better.
Motherfucker, that's natural instinct, bro. Motherfucker really lost brothers. What the fuck?
That's all
I ain't finna be talking about what.
Hell yeah, man. This shit
Motherfucker really lost brothers, bro. Y'all ignorant as hell for not, you feel me? Understanding where motherfucker come from, y'all
Y'all don't know our pain, our struggle. Growing up here, they gotta deal with that shit on your kind. Like that was just with my homie, now he dead type shit.
It ain't right now.
What was that?
We thugging, fuck no, we thugging, we ain't running, we ain't. That's the shit, yeah, we out here, but that shit been on movies, bro. Simpsons, all that shit gotta be safe now, but you know, that shit don't stop nothing. The president brought that shit, man. They just want to kill us all because we killing each other. You feel me? They just want to kill us all together in one.
If police don't turn this city's violent crime around. And families affected by gun violence agree that something has to change because New York cannot continue on like this. Jeremy Santana's mother clutches his photo in Brooklyn Thursday, standing on the block where the 38-year-old was gunned down 4 days prior.
It was my son that was taken away from me.
In their agony, the victims' loved ones gathered, pleading for city officials to put an end to the rise in gun violence.
We need more visibility of the police on the street. I see them in police cars, but we need to see them in our community, in the streets, developing the rapport. It was my brother today, but it could be your brother tomorrow.
The latest NYPD data shows the number of shooting victims citywide is up 8% so far this year compared to last, and up 85% compared to 2 years ago.
It's not happening in the middle of the night. It's happening in the afternoon on a busy street in a busy area where kids congregate after school.
Wednesday in Queens, 3 students were shot outside Francis Lewis High School in Fresh Meadows, including a 14-year-old girl. Thursday, police released this photo of at least 4 people they're looking for. Meanwhile, the violence prompted school safety agents to bring in metal detectors. We're told they recovered 20 weapons from the students.
surveillance video released by the NYPD capturing gun violence exploding in the middle of South Jamaica, Queens. In this video, you can see who cops believe are 4 teens in hoodies and ski masks open fire on a 17-year-old. You can see him run for his life. His mother is furious.
He could lose his life just like that. They need to get the gun off the road. They need to do something about this.
The victim's mother asked us not to show her face or use her name. Her son was shot in his thigh as he ran from those bullets. He is expected to survive.
He's okay right now, but he came in from an interview yesterday, and that's when he heard shot and he started to get shot at, which is not good. It's no good.
It happened.
Mass incarceration means that we've got a very high rate of incarceration historically, comparatively, and the other thing is the rate of incarceration is so high, so socially concentrated, that we're no longer incarcerating the individual, but we're incarcerating whole social groups. The rate of incarceration now is about 5 times higher than it was historically. Historically it was 100 per 100,000, now it's about 500 per 100,000 if we look at prison. If we add jail to that, it's about 700 per 100,000. Nowhere in the world incarcerates as much as we do. We've seen extremely high rates of exposure to the criminal justice system for African American men with very low levels of schooling. So if we think about black men who were born in the late 1970s and who were growing up through the American prison boom of the 1980s and the 1990s, the chances that they're going to serve time in state or federal prison if they dropped out of high school is about 70%. So going to prison for that group of black men with very low levels of schooling, that's become a normal life event. And that's really only happened in the last 10 years. We're at this point now where there's about 1.2 million African American children with a parent who's incarcerated. That's about 1 in 9. The research shows that kids who experience parental incarceration have diminished school achievement, they have behavioural problems, depressive symptoms, acting out, and there's also evidence that these kinds of negative effects associated with parental incarceration are concentrated more among boys than among girls. And there's a very real risk here that incarceration becomes an inherited trait. The underlying issue is we've chosen prison as a way to respond to that problem of crime. And there are a whole variety of ways that we could have chosen to respond to that problem of crime. We've chosen the response of the deprivation of liberty, and we've chosen the response of the deprivation of liberty for a historically aggrieved group whose liberty in the United States was never firmly established to begin with.
Many in the criminal justice system say it's no mystery to them why so many young black men end up in prison. They point to the common threads in the fabric of so many of their lives. Born to single mothers living in poverty, exposure to drugs, crime, and violence, no relationship with their fathers. The next thing you know, they're in trouble at school and then with the law.
Looking for solutions, like how neighborhood groups can help fight crime and which reforms need to be reformed. Again, we'll also provide practical information, like how to stay safe and vigilant on the subway, including where to sit and where to stand.
Our coverage begins now with Eyewitness News reporter N.J. Burkin.
Whether it's a residential street in the Bronx or a subway station in Midtown Manhattan, New Yorkers feel more vulnerable tonight than they have in years.
It's just a very sad situation, what's going on in New York City. I hope New York City gets better.
Violent crime has been rising over the past 2 years, with crazed, unstable people in the subways and fearless teenagers with guns. Shootings that once took place in back alleys now happen on crowded streets in the middle of the afternoon. Gang members blasting at one another, with bystanders caught in the crossfire. Among the latest victims, an infant struck in the face with a stray bullet. Police officers are being shot, and unsuspecting subway riders are being attacked at random. Others are being robbed. In the past 2 months, it's become an onslaught.
Certainly the levels of safety that we saw during the last 10 years are now being reversed, and it's a serious moment. No one should undermine how serious this is.
There were 485 murders in New York City in 2021, the highest total in 10 years. There were more than 1,500 shootings, the highest in 15 years, and double the number just 2 years ago. And underground, major felonies are surging.
90 miles from New Orleans, up the Mississippi River, lies Louisiana State Penitentiary. Commonly referred to as Angola, at 18,000 acres, it is the largest prison in America. Started as a slave plantation in the 1700s, converted to a prison plantation at the end of the Civil War, and taken over by the state in 1901, this storied land has seen more than its share of pain.
Last day. Look, take a look up at the world. Tell me what you see. A whole lot of people that trusting their enemies. Zombies.